if you're finding the language learning process to be frustrating or at all difficult, as in like you're not remembering stuff properly, you can't sit down and focus on a particular task, chances are that you have a focus problem, and this is super common. I have it. Everyone that's really exposed to social media in the kind of modern Western world, I think, has a very severe focus problem compared to how things used to be. So in this video, I'm basically going to discuss how to focus when studying, how to improve your focus in many different ways that you haven't even considered. And this is all basically going to result in you becoming a better language learner and a more proficient speaker of the language you're learning. And not only that, you're also going to be more fulfilled, less frustrated during your study time. So with that said, let's get on with it. Pre-warning you, I'm having a bit of a sneezing fit at the moment. So it hasn't happened yet, but if that does happen in this video, it might not be fun. You've been warned. So here is basically what's happening at the moment with you. I think it's really important to identify the current situation. So here's you try and do some studying. Studying could be anything. It could be, when I say studying, I just mean really anything in the foreign language, like flashcards, trying to remember a list of words, reading in the foreign language, maybe watching videos in the foreign language, anything like that. And obviously you're attempting to focus. You're not trying to do flashcards without focusing. That's retarded. And then what effectively happens is you get distracted from what you're attempting to focus on through any number of things. You just stop concentrating on it. It's difficult. You're not actually understanding what's being shown to you. And then that effectively results in frustration for a few reasons. One, because you feel like you're wasting time. Two, because you're not making any progress. Three, because I don't know what the third one was going to be. Insert whatever other reason you have. The point is, this is not how people actually learn languages, and if you can't concentrate, it's good that you have noticed that, but it's very bad. And in fact, when you think you're concentrating, you're probably still not actually concentrating a lot, just better than normal, simply because everyone has really poor focus. So let's talk about how we can actually improve our concentration so that we can do language learning tasks like flashcards, for example, without having a wandering mind and being able to completely focus. So obviously, we need to improve our concentration. The biggest problem at the moment is your mindset. So that's the first thing I'm going to address, and then we're actually going to talk about stuff that's actually going to help you improve your focus. Just one quick second. All right, sorry about that. So first, what we need to understand is a little thing. It doesn't really have a name. I just call it the meditation principle. And basically, the meditation principle is really, really good for improving your focus. Right now, whenever you're not focused, like whenever you are doing flashcards, for example, and you lose focus, you probably get really frustrated. And it's like, oh no, I need to focus. It's so bad. What I want you to understand is that the way you actually improve your focus is through losing attention. So if you've never done meditation before, this is going to be a lesson to you. If you've done it before, you might actually know this. But basically, in meditation, you know, when you're like sitting with your eyes closed, breathing, what you're actually doing, you're not trying to fall asleep or anything. And I'm not telling you to meditate, by the way. This is just a really good example for you to understand. So pay attention. When you're meditating, what you're actually doing is you're sitting there and you're focusing on one thing. It can be your breathing, it can be your hands on the floor. And what will inevitably happen, even to people who have really, really good focus, like monks, for example, is that they will get distracted. They'll get a random thought about, school or work, just something. They get a random thought about something, right? And then what the actual process of meditation is bringing your focus back from that distraction to being focused. So say you're sitting there focusing on your breathing, you get a random thought about work, and then you basically bring it back and you go, no, I need to focus back on breathing, and you bring it back to breathing. That state of focus means there is basically no thoughts in your mind. The only thing you're concentrating on is one thing, like your breathing, for example. And you might get frustrated every time you have a random thought when you're trying to sit there for like 5 minutes and just only concentrate on your breathing. But that's actually how you get better at meditation and focus. Every time you bring your focus back from that distraction to just being focused on that one thing, that's kind of like one rep of an exercise, like one bicep curl. And it's basically plus one focus point. Every time you bring your focus back, you're actually improving your focus. And it is exactly the same with anything that isn't meditation that requires focus. So when we're, for example, back to our example of flashcards, you're trying to focus, you get distracted. The mindset part of this equation is not to be frustrated that your mind is wandering and you're getting distracted from flashcards or reading or anything. What you need to do is every time you realize you're getting another thought and you're not fully concentrating, just to bring your focus back on the thing. So if you're doing flashcards and you start thinking about work, bring your focus back to the flashcards and just get rid of anything else. Just focus on the flashcards. And then you might get another thought. You might go, oh yeah, I'm doing so good. Oh wait, that thought of I'm doing so good isn't related to flashcards. Bring it back again. And every time you do that, don't be frustrated. Every time you get distracted, that's a free point for you to bring it back. Not get emotional, but bring it back and actually focus on it. And you will improve your focus over time. You'll find even after a few days of doing that, that your focus will actually improve because you've brung it back so many times. And yeah, there's a bunch of other things we're going to talk about in a second to improve your focus. But the final thing on this mindset thing I will say is this is extremely important. If you do not recognize that bringing your focus back when you get a stray thought is actually, it's actually how you improve your focus. You're going to get emotionally frustrated, and being emotionally frustrated is the worst thing for your focus. Micro and macro focus. By micro focus, I mean focusing on a task in the moment. Macro focus, I mean focusing on a goal long term. If you're constantly getting frustrated, not only will you not be able to focus in the moment, but you also will want to give up language learning and that kind of thing. And it's not good for your macro focus either. Also, meditation is really good for focus. You don't have to do it, but I would recommend it. Let's move on to things that you can actually do to improve your focus and after your mindset, basically. So the things we're going to get rid of is what I'll discuss first, and then we'll talk about things to add in. So if I can actually move this out of the way, what is going on? There we go. Move it over here. Hopefully you guys can hear me. I've been having a few audio problems lately, so this is a new mic. It's very good, but I'm still trying to figure it out because I'm not that smart. So the number one thing I will say to improve your focus that you should get rid of, and I struggle with this more as a creator because I'm just on, the applications more. I'm more exposed to short form content, but it's short form content. This stuff is terrible for you, and I'll explain why in a second. Your brain is obviously a very advanced computer. It's designed to, take information in, produce information, do a gazillion different tasks that even AI can't replicate yet in a lot of cases. But what happens when you expose yourself to short form content is basically, when you watch a short, you're exposed to dopamine very, very quickly. Dopamine's kind of like a hormone chemical in your body and your brain that basically causes happiness or desire. It doesn't cause happiness in like the spiritual fulfillment sense. It's kind of like a grotty version of happiness. Like, for example, when you eat junk food, you get a dopamine spike. That's why it's easy to eat a lot of junk food. Same goes for video games, for a lot of things that aren't particularly, obviously drugs is an extreme example, but that would give you a lot of dopamine. Anything that's kind of like easy to do, you feel like doing, it's kind of like maybe even a bit of a bad habit. A lot of the time these things give you dopamine. And yeah, there are things like if you really like a certain exercise, you can get a lot of dopamine after a workout, but that's kind of here and there. Sometimes you don't feel like the gym. You know what I mean, right? When I say dopamine, the thing about short form content is that it gives you a dopamine spike much quicker than long form content. So if you watch a bunch of short form content, what will actually happen is afterwards when you try and focus on something more like a longer video or even a book or something that's actually even harder to concentrate on, because those things aren't as high dopamine as quickly, they're not bombarding your brain with really quick really quick different things. Like if you got YouTube Shorts open, for example, or I don't know, TikTok, you can just swipe through them and get a bunch of dopamine and stuff. That actually conditions your brain to expect dopamine hits constantly because it rewires the way your brain works. And then when you try and go back to long form things, it causes a severe dopamine drop, which makes you basically feel down. Like if you've ever had zero motivation to do something, that's because of low dopamine. That's basically what that causes, because it's conditioning your brain to be used to really quick dopamine hits. So that's a little bit about short form content. The long story short is basically this is terrible for your concentration. It's terrible. It's actually terrible for your happiness and health as well. And same goes for any social media bullshit. They're kind of the same thing at this point. Just things that are useless that give you really quick hits of dopamine. Don't spend a lot of time on them because they're not good for you. And I'll change your life forever by telling you this. This will make you not want to watch short form content anymore. I want you to imagine I had a pill. Actually, first of all, we agree that improving your focus is a good thing, right? If I could 10x your focus now, that'd be fantastic, right? You'd make more money, you'd be happier, you'd be like smarter and stuff, you'd be better at stuff, you'd be able to learn something really quick. It'd be cool if you could just 10x your focus, you had like superhuman focus. We agree on that. Imagine if I had a pill, a magic pill or a medical pill that could actually 10x your focus. And imagine like it was common knowledge that this pill was like, it wasn't a scam, it actually worked. It was a pill you could take that would basically 10x or 20x your focus, and taking it would obviously do all those things we agreed upon before, like it would make you smarter, and it had no side effects. Like obviously this wouldn't actually exist, but just imagine there was a pill that could do all those things. It was like a miracle focus pill. How much do you think I would actually sell it for? A pill that would 20x or 10x or even 3x your focus. How much money would I make selling that if that was a genuine thing that you could take? $10,000 a pill? probably maybe $20,000 a pill if I could sell one that 20x your focus. Tons of money. I'd be a billionaire. I might even be the world's first trillionaire if I had that. So people would pay thousands of dollars to take a pill that would boost their focus because of all the things we agreed upon that are cool. What if I told you that pill already exists? Except it's not a pill. It's not a pill you can take. It's actually abstaining from short form content, because if you abstain from short form content, you don't watch short form content that's wrecking your brain's ability to do lower dopamine tasks like reading flashcards, etc. What will actually happen is your ability to focus will improve, and we already agreed that was a good thing. We already agreed your focus improving would make you happier, smarter, it'd make you more money, it would improve your life overall. And now I'm telling you can actually do that if only you cut out short form content. And we agreed that that pill would make me a ridiculous amount of money. So you have to decide now, is $1 million pill that's free worth cutting out short form content? Because I think it is. I think if you cut out short form content, you will become so much better at everything you go towards in your life. And another thing, you will actually be happier if you cut out short form content. So although it does give you very quick dopamine hits, what happens is over time you get used to it, and so it no longer gives you the same dopamine hit. And what it actually does is it lowers your baseline dopamine effectively, so that when you go back to doing normal things, it's actually more difficult to do them than it was before, even though it's the same task, simply because your standard for dopamine has risen. So it overall, just trust me on that one, you will be happier. If you have any questions about baseline dopamine, you can check out the link in the description. Sorry, not the link, you can comment down below and I'll explain it too if you want. But yeah, a few other things that you should really quickly get rid of, because that's the main things I've just addressed. Cut down on junk food. If you can eat a healthier diet, that will actually improve your focus. If you can eat less carb heavy as well, that will also improve your focus. So eating less, not that bread, pasta, and rice are terrible for you. They're okay for you, depending on what kind of thing it is. Some of them aren't good if it's like ultra-processed bread, like sweet baked bread, like cake, for example. That's obviously not healthy for you at all. But cutting back on junk food and carbs will actually help improve your focus, particularly if you can actually do a little bit of study, like maybe 10 minutes of something first thing in the day before you actually eat food. That will actually improve your ability to focus as well, because you're completely fasted. Get rid of your phone while studying. I don't know if I have to say that, but take it, put it in a completely different room. Mine's on the table right now. That's terrible. I should not have it on the table. I'm going to flush it down the toilet after this. But if you think about it, the phone is the most distractible device that has ever existed in the history of the world. And so it shouldn't even be in the same room as you. If I swapped out the word phone for most distracting device that has ever existed, and I told you to study, and I said, oh, by the way, I'm just going to put it just on the other side of the room, would you even want that in the room with you? Of course you wouldn't. So get rid of it. And the final thing I will say is on this slide is I'll really quickly mention locked periods. I'll try and sum it up in 20 seconds. A lot of people, like Jerry Seinfeld, for example, when he writes jokes, I think Stephen King does this as well. Lots of artists, lots of really smart people basically set periods where they can only do one thing. So for example, Jerry Seinfeld will set a period, could be an hour, where he will only be allowed to write jokes, and he doesn't have to write jokes, but he can't do anything else. And I think this locked period is a really good thing for studying. So you can set yourself a small period, 20 minutes to do flashcards, where you don't have to do flashcards, but you can't do anything else. So you can either do flashcards or sit there and do nothing, and then basically you'll condition yourself to want to do work, because it's the only valuable output of your time to language learn, if that kind of makes sense. So I would recommend setting periods like that where you know you can't do anything else, you have to do this, and if you want to do nothing, that's fine, sit there until the time runs out. That'll be really good for you as well. Final slide. Improve your sleep. It's not just quantity, 8 hours, but also quality. So I'd recommend make your room darker, make your room colder, lie on the floor before bed as well. Will improve your ability to sleep. It does work, trust me. And this will actually improve your ability to sleep. It'll improve your sleep quality. And I noticed for a fact that I'm actually way more refreshed. I'm ready to take someone's head off when I get out of bed. I think I said that before. Someone might have left a comment about it, so maybe they'll come back, who knows. But yeah, I'd recommend that. Keep excitement in the near future as well. What I mean by keep excitement, what is going on over here? What I mean by keep excitement in the near future is have something after the study period that you are actually looking forward to. So for example, if you have literally nothing fun the rest of the day, it's very difficult to be happy. So what I recommend is, for me, for example, I usually have the gym afterwards, or I'm going to study and then I'm going to go grab a coffee and then do more study and then the gym. So I've got something in the near future that is exciting. It's just a really good way to live your life. And I know at the end of the day, if I'm doing something that's particularly hard, maybe I'm going for a 15K run or something like that, I'm going to read after I have a shower, which is just really cool. So yeah, and the final thing I will say as well, I think I've said the final thing multiple times, but just have a growth mindset because you can actually improve your focus. Don't be frustrated. Remember everything, blah, in this video, and good luck. Hopefully this did help you. And if you want to check out my course as well, that's in the description below. Have a good one.